Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's the overdressed Maddie coming to us straight from work or school. It's kind of a combination of both.
Yeah,
but today,
I work in a school, but also go to university to go to that school. So that it's a weird thing at the minute. Yeah.
And in honor of Justin Jefferson, the Jet, big game. And no, I'm not going to stand up and do it for you guys because I did it with that after the kick, and I actually, my 43-year-old ass knees hurt doing the gritty. First time I've ever did the gritty in my whole life with Joseph, which I was holding my breath, made that kick. I literally jumped up and did the gritty.
And they played a great game, and it was big bottle from Joseph to put that away. I wish we stuck to our guns because we were both kind of like, I could see the Vikings winning this a little bit. Like we were both like,
I'm not picking the Vikings again for the rest of the year.
I wouldn't. I was sat there just rewatching it and just thinking, oh, if we stuck to it, we were kind of saying, we gave so many reasons why we think the Vikings were going to win and then pick the Packers, which we do quite a lot. But yeah.
So I know there's a lot of Packer fans right now mad at me. So I really kind of want to address something quick. So first of all, when I said that there were shit calls in that game, it was not saying that the refs were trying to help you win the game. It was not saying that the fix was in. All I'm saying is literally think about this. Aaron Rodgers called a timeout, scored a touchdown, and got a pass or a roughing the passer call on the same play. And I know they said we didn't grant the timeout, which I didn't know this is a thing now. We're like, nah, we're not going to give it to you this time. We've seen them not see coaches, but I've never seen a quarterback turn, give a timeout, and not be awarded it. So, and I even said, even though it's the letter of the law and it's the rule, I didn't like the helmet-to-helmet call on Cousins. I didn't like it, even though it saved our ass, took a turnover away, and actually the hit may have caused the turnover. He didn't go helmet to helmet. He went chest to shoulder and then came up. What do you want the guy to do? But Packer fans are mad at me saying that like I'm making excuses for a game that we won. That was not it. If you watch this, I crush these refs all the time. But there was some bad refereeing.
Just this season, you're not as bad. You weren't this bad during the playoffs when they have those super ref teams. But yeah,
right. No, I'm just saying this season they've got me losing my mind every game I watch, and we'll get to it when we talk to your Cowboys. But there was actually something I thought really good happened for the refs in that game. So this isn't all negative, right? But I'm just going to say JJ is a freaking monster. They know they're throwing to him. You can't cover him. It's like Devontae Adams. What do you do even though you know it's coming to him? Okay, Adams is a monster. I never thought, okay, Thielen had a big game, and we know Cook is tough as fuck. I just wanted to get through that. So we watch Rodgers kill people in the last few minutes all the time. We always say you left too much time. I never in my life thought I'd say this, but I really, watching that game, when they scored so quick before 2 minutes, I literally thought to myself, they might have left Cousins too much time.
He's been incredible in those 2-minute drills so far this year. He's pulled it out of the bag a couple of times or been close to pulling it out of the bag, things that weren't his fault on some of them as well. And he's shown himself to be the primetime quarterback that everybody says he's not. Like he's been doing it in the big spots this year sometimes and then not doing it on other occasions, but you can't ask them to do it every single time. And I was just impressed with the way that they found a way to win and just went for it. Like that's the Vikings Achilles heel this year. They haven't been finding a way to win, but in this game against a tough opponent that always finds a way to win, they found a way to win.
I knocked 9 years off my life watching that game. I'm not kidding. I was so fucking stressed. And the fact is I'm not taking a shot at them because the Packers defense is still legit. But the Vikings exposed their secondary, and they need Alexander back because their teams are going to start throwing more at the Packers than they were because Dalvin Cook's amazing and still got 105 all from yards from scrimmage. But those 86, I think it was, rushing yards were tough to get. The Packers' run game was on point, or run defense was on point.
Yeah, and it's good to like those 86 yards. That could just be because they're selling out to stop Delvin Cook, and then you just go after them with the ball in the air afterwards, which is a legitimate tactic, is something that you really got to do. But to do that, you've got to crush those hard yards. It's something that may come up when we're talking about the Cowboys later on. You've just got to sometimes not be as explosive to then be more explosive later on. It's a good way to play the game. Does Mike Zimmerman keep his job now that he's beat the Packers?
I think, okay, I don't know what's going on in the front office. I know that they try to be a lot like Pittsburgh, be loyal, work it through, right? I don't know. I mean, you hear so much different shit online. You know me. I don't want Zimmer to go, but if it happens, it happens. I still think if we make the playoffs, he keeps his job. There's other people who believe he has to win a playoff game. I think a lot of it's going to do with this. There's a next 4-game stretch that they better pick up wins in or they're in trouble. Like, so this next 4 games is really going to tell the tale of what's going to happen with this team and Zimmer. And then I got one last thing to say, and then I'll let you go. Again, just congratulations to the Vikings franchise. That was their 500th win in franchise history. And it's always great to come against the border battle rival.
Yeah, and I don't really have much more to say than that. They just played an excellent game. If you go back and watch it, you saw all the best things that the Vikings have to offer. That's who they should be. And we've been saying it. We've said it a couple of times when you've been down and out about them missing out and stuff. They're the best. What record are they now?
5-5.
5-5. They're the best 5-5 team in the league. They were the best 6-4. They were the best 4-5 team before that. They're a good team with a really solid roster, and they should just keep on going on from here, hopefully.
Well, this morning on Get Up, Ryan Clark said, and I'm not saying I agree, but just finally some praise. Kirk Cousins is playing so good that he's in the MVP conversation next to Jonathan Taylor. I think Jonathan Taylor's the MVP right now.
If those two franchises make it to the playoffs and perhaps win a playoff game, but I know.
And I'm not saying Cousins will win MVP, but just to be like recognized. And him and Orlovsky said Delvin Cook, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson, the toughest big 3 in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's it's a group of the biggest motherfuckers you can have on offense.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
I see what you did there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they're just a big group of dudes, like, who can just, like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, the Dallas offense is explosive. The Kansas City offense is explosive. But in a fight, I'm taking Jefferson, Thielen, and Cook over Amari, CeeDee Lamb, and Zeke any day.
Well, that was a great transition because I saw what you did there with the big motherfucker Dak. I saw that in case nobody caught it. So this is, I want to start out by saying I crushed the refs. Let's start in this game where I think the refs got it right, even though I know it hurt your team a little. But
there's a couple of calls where it was fucked.
No, I know, but this is the kind of shit I want to see from the refs. When Felton got dragged down by his face mask, and they called the unsportsmanlike on the sideline, got together. You know, they saw what was going on. New York was in their ear. They weren't supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And then they called the face mask, offsetting penalties. Let's replay the down. That's the one time I think the refs did the right thing.
I'm okay with them getting the correct call. I just want to put that out there. I'm okay with them getting the correct call. I just don't like the way that they do it because it enhances home field advantage even more. I've been in crowds of rugby games where you can influence the ref because of what's on the TV screen. And I don't think stadiums should be allowed to play replays on the TV screen until the next play, at least. Because it should be like if New York want to get in their ear and say, "Hang on, you might want to have."
New York was in their ear.
Yeah, that's fine. But the fact that they got it from the massive TV screen in Kansas City isn't fair. That's not the way that it should be going, and it's not a reviewable call anyway. And this brings us on to that. I'm happy that they got the right call. It was the right call. Fine. Just do it in the right way.
I get what you're saying, but my belief is I don't care how you get there as long as you get it right. Like
yeah.
Go ahead.
I just think if that was in Dallas, they wouldn't have got that. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have. They wouldn't have played it on the big screen.
If
until
it
the
was
next
all
play.
off the screen, you might be right. I truly believe New York was in their headset too.
Yeah, I just think it's got to be done the right way. And if they want New York to review every play, I'm not against that because then you get things right. But then there's massive pass interference calls that New York aren't in their ear about, and they don't go up on the big screen because that's not reviewable either.
I think if they're a judgment call that's not blatant, they should leave it alone. But I think everybody would agree the year the Rams went to the Super Bowl, the Saints, man, I don't care that it's against the rules. They should have been in the ear of the ref going, throw a flag. That was the worst pass interference ever. Throw a flag.
And I'm good with that, but you've got to be consistent with it. And the fact that Dallas had two massive pass interference calls that should have been pass interference calls. There was two huge ones where Dallas are driving and then it goes away. I think the refs had a really shocking game in both respects. Like it's both teams like that had problems there.
I'm a firm believer that everything in the game should be reviewable, even if you lose it. Like even if it's judgment, review it. Like lose it. I also believe you should get two wrong challenges, and you should be able to challenge 7,000 times if you keep getting it right, because it's not your fault as the coach and the team that these refs can't get the correct call.
Yeah, and I'm a person who's a real advocate for referees. I don't think any of it is really their fault. Like, to be perfectly honest, I think they're put in a shitty situation where they're amateurs who aren't getting paid the right amount of money for what they do. They're not given the time to perfect their craft. Like they're amateurs at the end of the day, and they referee like you expect amateurs to referee. Like that's just how it goes. They're semi-pro, not amateurs. Sorry. They referee like you would expect semi-pros to referee. And they're put in a shitty situation because there's some calls that can be reviewed and there's some calls that can't be reviewed. But everything's replayed because the NFL is an easily reviewable game because there's so much time in between each slot of action. It's a reason why it's not always going to be huge in Europe, because it's not a continuous sport. It takes a long amount of time between plays, between action. And if they can fit adverts in between everything, then they should be able to fit reviews in between everything as well, as far as I'm concerned. I'm not going to blame this loss totally on the refereeing, though, so don't worry about that. I'm not that kind of guy. Like you've got to win that game. I just want to highlight those two pass interference calls that really messed it up, and they went out. Pollard goes out of bounds with 11 seconds left in the third quarter, and the clock keeps on running, which is surreal. Like
that's because they changed it a couple of years ago, and going out of bounds stops the clock until they reset the ball, unless it's within 5 minutes of a half, the end of the half or the fourth quarter.
Right. Okay. Didn't know that. My fault. My apologies. Never mind.
I didn't know. I didn't. It happened a year or so ago, or two, and I got confused. Didn't know.
Okay.
Had to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Then that's okay. Speeds the game up. Fine. Whatever. I did think it was weird that none of the commentators were saying anything. I rescind. The Dallas Cowboys weren't good enough yesterday, and their offensive line is the reason for that. I just want to make it known that there are a lot of injuries on the Cowboys team right now, and they went into Kansas City, who it's a difficult place to play, especially if you're not a first choice left. They could have done with the experience of Tyron Smith. Like you could see Steele was struggling with the noise. They could have used some serious experience in that setup. They also were missing Amari Cooper, who thrives off man-to-man. CeeDee Lamb goes out injured after the interception. They have no defensive lineman left. Micah Parsons is the best defensive lineman on the team. What a defensive lineman to have. Had a huge game. Zeke was limping. Drops from our Cedric Wilson dropped. That's the first time I've seen him drop the ball, and he dropped the bloody thing twice, But those injuries don't excuse the fact that our defense held Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs to 19 points, and we could only score 9. And people are ripping on the defense, and I don't understand how, because that's heroic. compared to last year, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, this isn't a shit on your Cowboys, but as somebody in fantasy football, I wish I would have cut Patrick Mahomes 4 weeks ago. I've been riding with him, and he's killing me in fantasy. But if you would have told me before the game, Dak only has 68 yards and a pick in the first half, I'm running to the sports bet and laying all my money on Kansas City. So, that was a rough game all the way around. And I don't want to beat up on anybody because shit happens in the NFL, but it was rough.
But if you tell me that we hold the Kansas City Chiefs to 19 points before that game, then I go to Ladbrokes or wherever and put all of my money on Dallas winning that game. It's weird to me. It's the inverse of what was going on. Defense wins championships. That's the only thing that I can take from that. And the defense played well enough for me. Dak was shit, and that's his second crappy game this season. And people are riding with that. They're saying, "Oh, he should be." You're seeing people grading them, and they're giving the defense like a D- and Dak a C+ and stuff. And you're like, "What are you talking about?" Dak was an F. The defense was a B to an A. Somewhere in that range. Micah Parsons is an outstanding player, and I can't wait
Defensive rookie of the year.
Easy. It's not even a contest. He's amongst the defensive players of the year for me, along with Trayvon Diggs, who could also have that. Trayvon Diggs cost some big plays again as well, though, and he blows hot and cold. The Kansas City Chiefs aren't back from what I can see. They just came up against a really shitty offensive line and capitalized on it like a good team would do. Good job, Steve Spagnuolo. Excellent job getting that Chiefs defense doing anything.
Yeah, I watched that game and I was just like, okay, I'm not even sure what I'm watching right here. It got to the point where it got boring.
Yeah, 100%. We're still the better team. Out of those two teams, I watched that, even though we lost by 10, I watched that and I say, we're still the better team. They're fully healthy. We're not. We have 3 drops and 2 pass interference calls. We deserve to lose, but I'm going to say both sides healthy, we win that game.
See,
but
and
we deserve to lose.
History just makes me trust the Chiefs more than the Cowboys, but I'm not arguing what you said. I'm just saying history. It's that
100%.
It's that weird. There's always this point in the season where the Cowboys hit a dip or shit the bed or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, and it's just hopefully we'll get healthy again and we'll see what happens. But that was a worrying game.
So on to the Cardinals Seahawks, which in itself was kind of a boring game too. It was fun to watch Colt McCoy, but the Seahawks put up no resistance. That's why it was a boring game.
Yeah,
I know they got 13 points and only lost by 10, but that score doesn't even that. It was just oh my gosh, the Seahawks put up zero resistance.
Colt McCoy has the Fitzpatrick gene. I'm telling you, he's just that guy. He's great. I absolutely would love to watch him. Him, Taylor Heineke, and Ryan Fitzpatrick are 3 of my favorite quarterbacks to watch in the entire NFL, because you don't know what you're going to get from them at all. It could just be fun to watch them crash and burn, or they can just be doing these mad plays all over the place. It was great. The Cardinals defense, the Cardinals offense for a little bit of that game where Colt McCoy was just playing out of his mind were great fun. The Cardinals are worthy of their top spot in the NFC. They've been the most consistent, even without their MVP candidate, Kyler Murray. And it's good. They're a great team to see doing that.
And adding Ertz to that team at the trade deadline was big.
Yeah. I wish I had him. I'm going to have to put him in my fantasy team ahead of Kyle Pitts, which I don't really want to do.
Oh, I had him and cut him 2 weeks ago to fit somebody in. Thought I could squeeze him back in because I needed a quarterback, and then lost him. So
I nicked him. That's me. Sorry.
Okay.
As soon as he went to the Cardinals, I was like, yep, you're mine. Come on in. Just what is it with the Seahawks? I just
it's over.
Russell Wilson was back and okay-ish, but they're just not very good at all this season. And for me, it's over for Pete Carroll
and
Seattle.
Russell Wilson's time. Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll marriage in Seattle is over.
Yeah, 100%. And it's about which one do they want them to stay, or do they want neither of them to stay? Do they just go for it and rebuild?
I have a weird suspicion that Russell Wilson is going to tell them again before the season's over, get me out of here next year.
Yeah, 100%. And he's able to say that this year. He has more leverage this year, right? He has more, less time in his contract. And
deeper in his contract. And they're at the point where they're not good anyway. So, you're just going to keep Russell unhappy on a bad team. You just might as well trade him, start over, and try to rebuild. Get 3
first-round picks. Get 3 first-round picks and try and build from there, You will just be without a quarterback for this year because there's nobody in that draft class that's good enough. As far as we can see, obviously, there's still plenty of the season to go in college football. But, yeah, they're in a weird spot, Seattle, a really, really strange spot. And I'd tear it down. I'd tear the whole thing down and start again.
Yeah, I agree with you. On to a game. We both picked right, but man, I did not see it going the way it did. The Colts-Bills, that Colts defense was on fire. You're balling when the ball is thrown and the DB Moore just tips it to himself for the interception. I thought that was awesome. And Jonathan Taylor is a complete stud right now, MVP. And then the only thing I'm going to say on the Bills, and I'm going to let you go because I don't think much needs to be said on this game because it was just, if you watched it, the Bills only ran the ball 8 times the whole game, and I think we've overrated the Bills.
Yeah, you can't play without a run defense, without a run offense. They showed that last year and they haven't fixed it. And the idea is, well, at least their defense is better, and then they give up 45 points because you can just run straight through them. But that game, I've never seen one person take over a game like that. I can't think of a time where one person's just completely just taken over a game in that kind of respect. Derrick Henry's done it a couple of times. But
I watched Adrian Peterson do it a couple times, but it's rare, and it's always Hall of Famers.
Yeah, and he just said, right, this is my shit. And Quentin Nelson ends up having to leave the game, and he's still running through walls, running through gaps like they're nothing. He's a stud. Whoever's got him in fantasy football, it was the guy that you were playing against him, could be favorite to win the whole thing. If the rest of his team is pretty weak, but if you're scoring 51 points in fantasy, then you've really got it. And that dude's an animal.
I got lucky Hopkins was out because if the guy I'm playing would have had Hopkins too, I'm down by 34 point something going in tonight's game, praying that Gronk and Leonard Fournette can have the game of their life.
Yeah, it's the Bills. The Bills are in a funny spot at the minute, and it's which way are you going to go? Which way are you going to go? Because the Pats are there. The Pats are coming for you. They're taking that division if you don't sort something out. Why they didn't go for some sort of running back before the trade deadline, I have no idea.
Do you hear that? That's faint sounds coming from Buffalo of Stephon Diggs already whining. That's faint sounds. The thing's about to go sideways.
Forcing his move to New England. Oh man, honestly, the Pats look real as well. So the Bills are fucked if they don't slow it out.
Chargers Steelers, okay? Chargers Steelers. How the hell did we get a 37-41 game? Not sure. I know they scored 37 points, but Ben still looks old. Still looks old, and Justin Herbert is for real.
The reason they did that, the reason they scored the 37 points is because the Chargers will do anything to try and lose a game. They will do absolutely anything they can. They're if the Vikings are experts at giving the game away. The Chargers are the GOAT at giving the game away at the minute. It's impressive. It's amazing when you have Austin Eckler, who's going absolutely insane this season and winning me my division in the fantasy football almost single-handedly, Austin Eckler, and you have Justin Herbert, who he'll be the best quarterback in the league in the next couple of years, as far as I'm concerned, because it's not the kind of skill like where Patrick Mahomes, where it's when Mahomes is hot, he's absolutely red hot, but he's gone off the boil a little bit this season. Herbert is steady skills, analyzing the game. And that's not to say that Patrick Mahomes is not, and we'll come on to this in another video, the next video coming up. But Herbert has those more measurable skills where he's got the body to do everything that you want him to do. He looked like he could have just run over people if he really wanted to, but he was thinking, no, let's play it safe. We'll go down because we're on the move. I don't want to get injured here as well. He was incredible last night. Absolutely incredible. And I don't understand how they tried to lose the game. I don't get it.
Rex Ryan said this morning that for him, guys, Justin Herbert is the best quarterback in football because he's the best quarterback in football right now in the fourth quarter. He threw out stats. I don't remember all the stats, but I was like, I don't know if I'd call him the best quarterback in football, but I was damn impressed with the fourth quarter stats.
Justin Herbert's amazing. He's an absolutely awesome talent, and he's just got everything. He's got everything that you could possibly want in a player. He's smart as well. That's the thing, isn't it? It's, you see these guys with this crazy talent, and all quarterbacks are smart, but Justin Herbert's like real smart.
Well, there's a difference, and I'm not saying you can't have both or whatever, but there's a difference between being intelligent and being football intelligent and understanding the game and the defenses.
Yeah, he's not just football smart. He's a fucking brainiac. Like he could get any job he wanted outside of the NFL if he wanted it as well. And he's just real. And the LA Chargers offense is real, and they've fixed their offensive line, which is great to see. And they just need to sort something out with getting some fans in the stadium that support them and not support the Steelers as well.
Something crazy. So think about this. The Chargers left San Diego 4.5 years ago. There's only 2 players on that team that played in San Diego.
Yeah.
Keenan Cardell and I can't remember who else it was, but only 2 players on that team that played in San Diego.
I still don't get the move from San Diego. Like, I know it's to do with money, but at least they had fans.
The stadium. San Diego wouldn't build them a new stadium.
Yeah, at least they had fans in San Diego, though. You know, like there's more Steelers fans at the game last night. It's a weird vibe. They need to change ownership, because the ownership doesn't help them at all. Like, nobody wants to support those owners. So they need to change ownership, and they need to get out, and the next generation of LA fans, they need to find a way to make them Chargers fans. So you have like Snoop Dogg doing the promo for the game saying, oh, do I support my Pittsburgh Steelers or my hometown LA Chargers? It's like, if you're a football fan, like a UK football fan, you wouldn't even dream of supporting anybody other than your hometown, unless your hometown is really shitty, and then you just support the person nearest to you who's any good. So I'm from Darlington, our team's terrible, so I support Sunderland, who are now terrible, but they used to be good as well. Like, it's a weird, and I know they weren't the LA Chargers when Snoop Dogg was there, but they need to find a way to get that kind of hometown crowd and turn SoFi Stadium into like an LA Chargers kind of cauldron, and then they'll find it easier to win games from there, I think.
All LA teams find this out. The Lakers, SC, it doesn't matter. If you're not winning, people ain't showing up because there's too much stuff to do in Los Angeles.
Yeah, and just have the biggest stars in the league. That'll help. And Justin Herbert will bring fans to them. Justin Herbert is the exact kind of quarterback that they want. And it's just finding a way to take fans from the Rams, take fans from the Cowboys and the Steelers, who all have massive fan bases in LA, and get them there, because then those guys will push you over the line. You see it. You saw it in the Kansas City Cowboys game. If you have a loud crowd, then it can really disorientate the offense of the other team. And the Chargers, that's their step for me. That's where they get their step forward.
All right, Maddie, on to the Texans, Titans, and I'm just gonna say I can tell you right now how the Titans lost this game. It's 4 picks from your quarterback. It's 4 picks from your quarterback. Ryan Tannehill lost him this game. It's an anomaly. It's not a trend. And I don't know what's going on with the Texans, but if they had every game in their division, maybe they'd hit 500.
I would never ever see Tannehill doing that. Like I could see Mahomes losing a game that way. I could see Rodgers losing a game that way. I could see Brady even losing a game that way. I can never see Tannehill losing a game that way because he doesn't throw the ball enough normally.
So, it's because we praised him last week.
Yeah, what's going on here? It's not the way that Tannehill kind of plays to throw those things away. And Tyrod Taylor coming back makes the Texans a totally different thing because the Texans won't lose the game now. The Texans offense will not lose a game now. So you have to beat them. And they're beatable. They're still, for me, the worst roster in the NFL in terms of potential talent and things like that. They're still the worst roster in the NFL, but they have a quarterback that won't lose you the game, which means you have to go out and beat them. And to go out and beat a team in the NFL, you have to have some semblance of being on your game. But playing the Texans, it's really difficult to get on your game because you know you should hammer them. Weird game for the Titans, really. An anomaly, I agree. I wouldn't say that that's the trend, but you can't drop those kind of games, man. Not in how close the AFC is at the minute.
Yeah, like I said, that game, it just came down to you turn the ball over by throwing 4 picks. Good luck winning a game, even against the Texans. You know what I mean? And it's not like they got rookie Davis Mills starting. You had Tyrod Taylor out there who can actually play football, and they just hit a weird week of your quarterback who doesn't lose you games had one of the worst games of his career.
Yeah, your quarterback who doesn't lose you games lost you games, and that's that's basically it. That's how they lost the game.
Well, all right, guys. I think we did it. You guys stay tuned for our Week 13 preview, and also keep your eye open for our top 5 quarterbacks.
And our power rankings as well. They're going well. Every single time we put anybody anywhere near the top of the power rankings, they lose. So see if your team are in the power rankings and if they're going to lose this week.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.